one of your functions over time has been to communicate scientific knowledge to the public.
Yeah.
And that's why I was quite surprised to hear you talk about the idea that we all exist on a spectrum where you wake up one day and you feel like you're more female and more male.
The XXXY chromosomes are insufficient.
What?
Because when we wake up in the morning, we exaggerate whatever feature we want to portray the gender of our choice. Suppose no matter my chromosomes, today I feel 80% female, 20% male. I'm gonna put on makeup. I'm gonna do that. Tomorrow I might feel 80% male. I'll remove the makeup and I'll wear a muscle shirt. Why do you care?
Yeah.
What business is it of yours to require that I fulfill your inability to think of gender on a spectrum? My only point was that if who you decide is male and female in the street is a construct of style and trends and what the beauty industrial complex wants you to see, if that's how we establish gender, then maybe some people want to be fluid within that gender identify. So they'll wear a skirt, but maybe have a beard, or they'll mix and match that in whatever way
Neil,
you want.
Sorry.
Hold on. I'm not, wait, I'm almost done. So
okay,
if a person using the tools of the beauty industrial complex wants to mix and match this,
yeah,
and they are expressing their freedom in a free country to do so, why is your job to tell them not to?
Okay,
that's my only point. And so I'm speaking of gender expression and the freedom to do so. And if you want to restrict that, then what country are we living in? Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, I don't know a single person, and we've talked to trans people on the show. We have trans employees at Trigonometry. We've spoken to all sorts of people about this issue. I do not know a single person who wants to prevent people from dressing how they want, or behaving how they want, or choosing any name that they want. However, the problem is,
so you don't, but you know such people are out there.
I'm sure such people exist in the same way that there are people who believe that the Earth is flat and so on, but they're a tiny minority.
They exist.
It is
I don't know how tiny they are, given the dialogue today.
Fair point. Fair point. However, what I would say is that the conversation in the public consciousness has become prominent, not between people who want to defend the right of anyone to dress how they want and the people who want to prevent that. The reason the conversation has become an issue is that we assign and allow certain privileges to people based on their sex. If you are female, you get to go to places that only other females are in, like changing rooms and toilets and so on. If you are female, you get to compete only with people of your sex, because females are at a disadvantage in physical competition to males in almost every sport. In other words, we carve out certain areas where your sex matters tremendously, even though we may respect your right everywhere else to believe that you are whatever you are, to dress however you are, etc. So your claim that today you woke up and put lipstick on and grew your hair out long and tweezed out your mustache and whatever, and therefore you are female, has an impact on other people in certain contexts in which that is a problem.
You gave only two contexts. Do you have others?
Sorry, I wasn't finished. And in those contexts, it is essential, people would argue, to protect women from unfair competition and from various risks for which female-only spaces already exist. That's why people are having this conversation. It's not out of bigotry.
Do you have more than those two examples? And I'll address each of those in turn. But do you have more than those two? Probably not. Okay. So let me address those two examples directly. I'll address them.
Sports is very important.
You said that.
Female-only spaces.
I remembered. So, but you don't seem to have a third example. So, and even if you do, we presume that would be a very distant third compared to those two cases.
No, there's a third one I can give you very easily. In this country, for politics, we have female-only shortlists for positions in Parliament. Therefore,
I didn't know about
claim
that. That's interesting. Okay.
Well, that's another example. I can give you more. So female-only shortlists, there are certain targets within corporations for diversity targets to have a certain number of women on the board. Therefore, when you make a claim that you are female, you are attempting, whether intentionally or not, to insert yourself into categories that are deliberately designed to protect women's interests. That is the concern that people have. So there's 4 examples for you there. Please address them.
Sure.
The thing with, I'm surprised that this guy, this Neil DeGrasse, he's a scientist. He's a well-known scientist. And he's sounding like a liberal, far-left nut job. Like, I don't even understand what... I mean, if he's gotten to the point where a well-known scientist is sounding like a far-left... I don't even understand what the hell I'm watching. Like, this is a scientist talking like this. The XY chromosome, the XX chromosome is not sufficient. It's no longer sufficient to differentiate between male and female. This is a scientist. Wow. Wow. Oh my God. Anyway, let me keep going.
So interesting about the Parliament. I have to look into that to find out what is it try to ensure the representation of women? Is that the goal?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay,
correct.
fine. That's a perfectly noble cause there. So about personal changing spaces, okay. That's a solvable problem, of course. And we basically have accomplished that here in Manhattan, where I live. Practically all bathrooms are either multi-gender or solo bathrooms, so only one person at a time, or you walk into a space and there's stalls that are closed off, but then you exit the stall and you come to a communal sink. Okay.
Yes.
So it's a solvable problem where everyone has a private space rather than for themselves, rather than having a gender private space. Okay. It's solvable. It's on a level. By the way, let me give an example. We have a school from the early 20th century in New York, and I just saw it the other day. There's an entrance here and an entrance there, and this entrance says girls and this entrance says boys. It's like, what the fuck? What? You separate them just to enter the school? I can look back on that and say that was ridiculous. You guys, what were you thinking? But back then, I'm sure it made complete sense that you're going to send the girls through that entrance, and there's an elementary school, and the boys through that entrance, okay? So it is possible to look back on whatever you were doing and say, my gosh, that was really short-sighted, and look at the solution that was proposed and implemented. That was a good idea. We moved on from that. Okay, so I remember boys' rooms where you come out and, you whip it out, and we'd all be peeing into a trough, okay? We don't have those anymore.
We do, because we're technologically very far behind.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then we had urinals just lined up on a wall. That was a little more private, and now those urinals have little small but real dividers, so you're not like looking over. So there are solutions to the privacy problem, and we've all but solved that here. I can't speak for every state in the United States. Definitely here in New York City. The bathrooms, it's not, all right, that's that. Second, with sports, very interesting. There was a case where a woman wanted to be they wanted to disqualify her from an event. And she had very big muscles, and she had naturally high testosterone levels, okay? And she was genetically female, but unusually high testosterone levels. And so that weirded everybody out. So I'm wondering whether the future of those sports is you don't contest gender with gender, you contest hormone ratios.
Well, hold on a second.
What
But
do
the
you think
difference
about
is is physiologically between men and women, and not just hormonal. Women have a different hip angle. They have different heart capacity. They have different lung capacity.
Did he just say we got to differentiate male and female in sports with hormones? This is a scientist. Like I keep going back to this is a scientist.
I mean, there are profound physiological differences, different bone density. We've had professional athletes on the show to talk about it.
I don't have a problem with that. So then you find ways to slice the population so that whatever the event is interestingly contested. So, for example, I wrestled in my life. I was captain of my high school wrestling team. It would be unfair for me at 190 pounds, which is what I was back then, to wrestle someone 120 pounds.
Hold on. It would actually be unfair for you to wrestle someone who is also 190 pounds, but female.
Let me work my way there. Let me just work my way there. Because
fine.
You are, I respect how active your brain is, but I've thought about all this, and just allow me to speak it at the rate that I do. Okay.
Go for it.
So it would be unfair. So they have in wrestling, they said, let's make weight categories. Okay. So we make weight categories. So I don't wrestle the 120. I wrestle 190 pounder. So a wrestling match is not just this one person against the other person. It's 10 matches. And each one is intensely interesting because they are matched. Okay. So what the trans conversation is foisting upon us is the need to find ways to slice the athletic universe such that we still have interesting fair matches. And is it a combination of, did you go through puberty as a male and then transition? Did you have puberty blockers? What is your hormone level now if you want to compete? So it requires more creative thought. Rather than saying no to it all, let's be creative about this, as we were with wrestling, as we are with practically any other sport. In rowing, there's a heavyweight rowing and there's lightweight rowing. They don't compete against each other. Somebody came up with that to resolve the problem because more than one category of person wanted to compete. So I agree with you. It's an unsolved problem. Yes, but it's not unsolvable given what we know about human physiology. So why not rise to that occasion and solve it rather than take your older view of the world and force modern emergent conduct of people to fit that?
This is a scientist. This is a scientist, and the other dude is trying to school him on actual human biology. This is a scientist. Like, I don't even understand. This guy is a famous scientist. Like, I forgot what he majored in, but I know he does all this cosmos things. But I know that he's like a famous, I've seen a couple of his documentaries, and he has something on the Discovery Channel. Yeah, that's how I knew him. But yeah, so he's famous. He's famous with all this science stuff. But to hear this guy talking like this, if you didn't know Neil DeGrasse, if you didn't know him, and you just started watching this video, you would think he's a nut job. Like everything you would think that, is this guy okay? Like, has this guy been outside? Has he met a man and a woman before? This is where we are, bro. Like, this is scary. With every passing day, this is actually really scary that a scientist, someone that actually went to school for this, someone that actually, well, I don't know whether he went to school to do this in particular, but this guy is intelligent. But this guy is very intelligent. And he sounded like a paid off left wing, not even left wing, far left. Not like, this guy sounded like he's insane. This is scary. This is really scary. Jesus Christ. Anyway, if you like the video, hit that like button, hit the share button, leave your comments down below. I would love to read them. And if you may, please subscribe. You guys have a good night.